Could you tell us when the word gender kind of came into play, and was there kind of an intentionality behind that to get into all of this craziness?
Yeah. So I do go in the book. Lost in Transnation is my most recent book. And that is a book that is dedicated only to the phenomenon that we are now facing, the medical, I will call it a medical catastrophe, a medical scandal, let's call it. And I am warning parents and educating parents so that they are prepared. No family is immune. It could happen in any family that out of the blue, their child just comes one day and says, Mom, Dad, I'm not your son, I'm your daughter. So you're asking me, where did this come from? And
Yeah.
there was intentionality, absolutely. So this came from a individual by the name of John Money. John
Yes.
Money was a prominent, distinguished psychologist, a PhD psychologist, Harvard educated, originally from New Zealand, from your part of the world. And he had a theory.
I'm sorry. I'm going to distance myself from the Kiwis on this one. I don't want anything to do with that.
All right, so John Money came up with a theory, and this was in the 50s. So it was way, way before any sort of ability that we had, to study the genome, to look at the chromosomes. And this was a time when there was a lot of discussion in society about what was more important. Was it was it nature or nurture?
Right.
In terms of our development and our personalities and how feminine a person might be or how masculine. So there was this discussion, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, of course, over nature versus nurture. So John Money came out and said it is all nurture. None of it is nature. The only part of it that's nature is that women, uh, he said, women menstruate,
Oh,
women,
hate speech.
well, women gestate, so they, you know,
Mm-hmm.
give birth. They go through pregnancy and give birth. That would be gestation, and women lactate. Also hate speech, right?
Apparently.
Men these days we say that men lactate as well. But in John Money's day, back in the 50s, they only said that women do those things. And so John Money
Gosh.
said, yeah.
So how absolutely fatalist is the atheist worldview that flattens the beauty of man and woman and turns him into his unique biological parts and leaves him with that alone. And then any child knows that that's insane. But anyway.
So John Money proposed that aside from those three functions, you could say, that everything else, all the differences between men and women, are due to society and due to the messages that we get from a very early age, whether the newborn is wrapped in a pink blanket or a blue blanket, and whether the child is given a doll or a truck, and what the expectations are on that
Right.
child. So he said that is all, we are just one humongous social construction. That any differences that exist between girls and boys in terms of their play preferences and what toys they like and how they play and how they behave are all
Mm-hmm.
due to society.
Hmm.
And so that was his theory. That was his gender theory. And it was very, very important to John Money to prove this theory correct. Now, it's important to say, and I explain this in the book, that again, Lost in Transnation. My publisher tells me that I have to mention my book as
Every 5 sentences.
so I'm going to be doing that.
Good.
Okay.
No, I'm glad. I'm so excited about the book, and I'm glad that you wrote it. Anyway,
And
back to the bloody New Zealanders.
yeah. I'll tell you something. People just begin reading the book, the first few pages of the first chapter, and they are completely enthralled and engrossed. So even though, I'm a psychiatrist, this is not a book for professionals. This is a
Yeah,
book
yeah.
for moms and dads.
Oh, it sounds as exhausting to read as Sound of Freedom must have been to watch. Something necessary for this day and age, but probably not a light read, I'm thinking.
It's not a light read, but I want everyone to know that it's not completely dark and pessimistic. I am hopeful. I'm providing
Mm-hmm.
tools. I'm providing tools and knowledge to parents that they need, especially, school is starting soon, right?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about schools and how parents have to be aware, they have to be vigilant, and how they can go in to schools and make their rights, their constitutional rights. I know we're getting off topic a little
Well,
bit.
no, one constitutional right we have is to homeschool our children. It might be about time that we just threw in the towel on these public schools and otherwise.
Yes, well,
You know,
that is
like how rotten do things have to be before you finally wake up and smell the child mutilation?
well, I'm with you there, but some families just simply, for whatever reason, cannot homeschool. So I'm
Sure.
telling those families that they don't have to be victims, but in order to not be victims, and in order to not one day find out that your daughter is using the boys' restroom at school, you have to be on top of it. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be aware of what the schools are sometimes doing. They are undermining your rights. They are placing a wedge between you and your child. And so you have to be educated, and I provide all of that. If you're going to do anything,
Bless you.
Mary, just read that one chapter. I know everyone's super busy and doesn't have time. Don't read the entire book. Read that one chapter. I promise you, after you read that one, you will want to read the rest of it. But
Yeah.
that one book can save your family.
Hmm.
There are too many stories of kids who have been indoctrinated at school by teachers, by guidance counselors, by clubs that they attend. And these places and these people are planting seeds in their vulnerable, immature minds. And they are saying, you know what? If you're not comfortable with yourself, if you're not making friends, if you feel awkward, if you don't like the changes that your body's going through, you may be transgender.
I mean, that sums up every 14-year-old, you know? Or many 14-year-olds. Like, I felt awkward. I didn't feel comfortable in my own body, you know? My beautiful wife is the greatest person. She married up, but she's still really great. And, she was considered a tomboy as a kid. Loved to play soccer with the boys. And, we dread to think what would have happened if she was raised in this generation.
Exactly. And a lot of women, a lot of women are looking back and saying that for good. I was a tomboy. I never owned a dress until I was 30. I was never interested in makeup. I was, on and on and on.
Thank you so much for watching that clip. If you want to watch the entire thing, go over to mattfradd.locals.com. Locals is like a non-woke Patreon. So if you want to support the work of Pints with Aquinas, you can do that over there, mattfradd.locals.com. And when you do, you get a ton of things in return. You get bonus podcasts. You get bonus episodes of things. You get monthly spiritual direction with Father Gregory Pine. You get monthly audiobooks. You get our print newspaper sent to your door quarterly, and we even pay for shipping. There's a ton of things you get, and you also get the satisfaction of knowing that you're supporting the work of Pints with Aquinas. mattfradd.locals.com. Thanks.
Pay Thursday's salary.
Pay Thursdays.